Hello, everybody. It's the Shine Sisters for Friday, February the 26th, the end of February, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with my Shine sister, Debbie Levinsky, and we have a special guest, Kendra Laguna. And I want to just do a short intro of our beautiful sister, Kendra Laguna. She's been studying and working with her own intuition and healing since she was called to it again 12 years ago. Now as a Reiki master teacher, hypnotherapist, and mind-body-spirit practitioner, she loves to share and teach the modalities that have helped her move through the most difficult times in her life. Recently, the loss of her dad. Using her studies and practice, she is able to help you open your mind and heart to understanding the call that you are feeling. The journey begins here with this beautiful soul that we call Kendra Laguna. Hi, Kendra.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm usually working, so I don't get to ever do this fun stuff.
I'm so excited to have you.
We're so excited.
I'm excited.
I loved it. I loved it when Kendra reached out to us and said, hey, I love watching you guys. So would you ever want to have a guest on the show? I was like, are you kidding me? We would love to have you. This will be so fun.
So fun. So I know that you've done more than, you were doing something on the nutrition lines. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact course that you did.
So you mentioned my dad. And so he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in January of 2017. I quit my job to be his full-time caregiver. And while he was going through chemo and radiation and going to holistic clinics and all the awesome things we did for him for the 8 months that we got to spend with him before he passed, I was like, well, I'm just sitting here doing nothing, so I may as well learn something new. And I went ahead and was certified as a holistic nutrition specialist. So during that time, my main focus was how do I feed his body, because he had esophageal cancer and couldn't eat. I had to feed him through a G-tube. So I wanted to know, like, hey, how can I support him physically, like through nutrition, during, the chemo journey and all that stuff. So it just led to, I started it in January, and unfortunately he did pass away, August of 2017. And then I still had another few months left of that program, and I finished it, and I love it. It's helped me. It's helped me with my kids. It's helped me with my friends. It's helped me just, kind of learn the ins and outs of feeding our body and how different things that have different energies impact you when you ingest them.
So true. So true.
I have to say, I have had Kendra, not necessarily the nutrition, but she's done the hypnotherapy with me. And I lost 20 pounds. When she did that, she came over to my house twice and did that. And then I started doing the keto, and I never had 20 pounds come off so easy. Granted, I gained it back, so her and I need a refresher, right? But that was more of my emotional stuff. But I thought it was it was so easy to start on a new eating plan after she had did that for me. So thank you so much for helping me with that. That was amazing.
I am so sorry. My house is super echoey, and apparently someone's at my front door. So,
okay. You can, if you need to go see it, you can. And Debbie,
I don't know I think it was just a delivery person, and my dog. Okay. I will be right back.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Debbie, how are you today, sister?
Oh my gosh, I look forward to seeing you every Friday. You and I get to message each other daily and check in with each other, but it's not the same unless we get to sit and talk and hang out and do these lives together, because I love it when we come together, because what we were talking about in the green room with Kendra is that when we get together, our energies just amplify.
Exactly.
Now, here we have a third medium that comes on with us. So I'm excited about what's going to happen today. So
hi, Sam Prem. Hi, Ellen. Hi, Tanya. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Yeah, hi, so we're live, you guys. So we have dogs barking.
I am so sorry.
No.
Don't worry about it. Do you know that happened to me last week? So, I mean, this is life. We are moms.
I know, but usually
we do this out of our homes. So
please. It's all good. I was doing a live last week with one of my goddess sisters, and I needed a delivery came. Remember when I bought my table? And the table came while I was doing my live. So she's like, go ahead, I'll just hold it. And I laughed and I came back.
Yeah. You know what? That's what this is all about, right? This is live. This is our life. We're just sharing pieces of ourselves and our gifts and just kind of just showing up. And so that's how that works. What?
Is it in the chaos in our homes?
Exactly. Life.
I mean, that's what makes life exciting.
Right.
So I'm going to jump in real quick because what we decided, everybody, me, Kendra, and Giuliana today, because we never really plan on what we're going to talk about ever weekly. But what we do like to do is we like to trust that Spirit's going to guide us. And so I felt guided to pull from the Soul Coaching deck by Denise Lynn. And I loved it because when we were in the green room, we were all connecting about 15 minutes prior to coming on. We started talking about some of our abilities and how we communicate with Spirit and things like that. So this is super synchronistic, and this is definitely how we're supposed to, what we're supposed to talk about today. But everyone, take a look at that card. It's about communication. And look at those hands, and we're using our communication to connect with each other and to connect with our loved ones and connect with our angels and our spirit guides and our guardian angels and goddesses and things like that. So we're going to just talk about different ways that we like to connect, what is coming up for us, how things are just kind of creating more of an awareness for us. Like my mediumship and my clairvoyance is amplifying, and Giuliana will talk about what's changing for her and everything. So I think being home and with this whole COVID thing this last 14 months, I feel like it's given us an opportunity to really get in tune with our intuition and not being able to be busy gets us back in tune to our inner selves. And so I think we'll just talk about that and how we communicate and just wherever it takes us. So.
Yeah, I love that card because it's true. Spirit wants to communicate with us, and it's up to us it's like a muscle. We need to exercise that muscle, and it's like another language where we need to practice that language. And then, as our teachers, all of them say, we focus on the hits, not on the misses. And what that means is you focus on what did you get right? What was, an area where you were really able to help that person with a message? Because my intention is always healing, mind, body, and spirit, like yours are. And Kendra and Debbie, you have more mediumship skills. However, what I'm recognizing is, like when Debbie and I do our Shine Sisters readings, because Debbie and I create a safe container, what I'm noticing is my abilities to channel messages is becoming better. And as evidenced with Debbie as my witness. And when she validates that, then it's like, yeah, okay, I am a good channel for messages, not only through clairsentience, which is feeling, but also knowing, hearing and seeing as well. And so, it's nothing to be scared of the way that I was.
Right.
And so,
that's totally, I was scared out of my mind. I remember going back, I go back to my childhood, right? And a little girl, it makes so much sense now why I always had to have like my feet covered. I had to be head to toe covered under the covers. And I think back now and I'm thinking, oh, that makes perfect sense. I was probably feeling other spirit around me. And of course, there's no awareness and there's no one to talk to about it, because especially when you don't have parents who know anything about spirituality, and they weren't even religious at the time. So I that came to my awareness a couple of weeks ago when I was watching another medium and her experience as a little girl. And I was like, this makes so much sense. So do you guys want me to read the meaning of what communication is real quick? And then let's let Kendra share her experience. So, okay. So again, this is the card. You guys can take a look at that. And it says, I need my glasses. Sorry. Yep. I'm almost 48, people. Glasses. My readers are coming out. Okay, so the card meaning is communicate from your heart and speak your truth without hesitation. Be willing to stand before the crowd and share from your center. This isn't the time to be shy and hesitant, but to heal through communication. You're a natural teacher. Your soul wants you to know discretion is the better part of valor. However, sometimes it may be fear rather than discretion that keeps you from reaching out. Communication restores trust and allows you to clarify your ideas, position, and feelings. It can be healing when you share what has been withheld. Now is the time to take a risk and have the courage to speak with forthright clarity. Share the unspoken darkness that lays heavy in the heart. Even if you're afraid, declare your love for all to hear without fear or being rejected or misunderstood. When you do this, transformation and healing can occur. Affirmation. I communicate from my heart and love surrounds and protects me. Doesn't that make perfect sense? I mean, literally, I didn't read the card, right? I mean, I didn't read the whole thing. And then you started talking about it. And then I started talking about it. And it's literally like, that's just validation that we're on the right track.
Well, so I'm going to piggyback on your card because you were like, hey, go grab a deck. Do you have a deck? And literally, I'm not even joking. Like, I had to kind of dust off the deck that I brought because I'm like, oh, I haven't used this deck in like ever. And you're like, and it's an animal deck and it's called the Animal Messages. And I was like, well, I like animals and I haven't used this deck in a while. So you're going to love this. I shuffled them and I was like, oh, I don't know when they're going to want me to pull a card. So I'm just going to pull one right now. So that way, and I have it sitting right next to me. And then I pulled it and I'm like, well, that's kind of an ugly animal. Like, I don't want that one. Like, that's not, like, it's not a butterfly. It's not a bird. It's a freaking water buffalo. Oh. Which, super hot, right? Like, here we go. Here's the water buffalo. However, let me read it to you.
Yay!
Face life head on with courage and reclaim the brave spirit within you. So I translate that into no fear, right? Like, don't have fear around things. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Mr. Water Buffalo.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I thought that was like pretty cool. But like you were saying about when you were a little girl and how you had to have like, and I was completely 100% the same way. I grew up in a very, very active home. My house was out in the middle of nowhere. I lived on 2 acres, and across the street from us was 200 acres of horse farm. And we lived on a dirt road. My parents didn't have a ton of money. They did okay, but we lived at the dirt road went like this, and we lived at the bottom, so like at the gully basically. And our house was the closest house to the road. And like crap just happened. Like car accidents happened because people would be coming too fast off the thing and then they bottom out in our front yard. We had people landing in the swamp. There was always something going on in and around our acreage. Our house, my bedroom, was the original cabin that was built in 1882.
Wow.
And the house had just been added onto and added onto and added onto. Until it was a 4-story home. So it was like a walkout basement, then another level, then like another level, like another level. It was like the most disjointed.
That is so crazy.
Wow.
Like, I remember moving there and I was 6. I was in 1st grade, and my mom and dad were like, we're going to redo this house. It was like a fixer-upper. And they're like, we're going to redo this house. And there was a horse farm across the street. So like, that's all they had to tell me. It was like, I would disappear and they'd be like, oh, we better go walk up to Donna and Dave's. We know where Kendra is. And I literally walked up there 2 days after we moved in and introduced myself and said, my name's Kendra. I like horses and I'm going to ride here. And they were like, where did you come from? Like, where did you come from? Like, there are no houses. I'm like, I'm from the bottom of the hill. And they're like, you walked up the hill by yourself. I'm like, yes, I did. And that story is wonderful as well. So as my parents redid the house, the first 2 bedrooms to be redone were mine and my brother's. So my room was, again, the original cabin. And then somebody had added on a kitchen, a bathroom, a living room with like an old wood burning stove, and then an extra bedroom. My windows were like 15 feet off the ground. And from age 7, I would tell my dad, there's a man, he's looking in my window. There's a man, he's looking in my window. And my dad's like, you're crazy. The dogs would be barking. We had outdoor dogs. Like, the dogs would be barking. Someone would have to like bring a ladder and we live off the road and like we live in the middle of nowhere. Like, you're nuts. And then it progressed where I would see children around this man and they were all very like sad and forlorn, but they were always dressed, and I always called them Amish clothes. We have a very big Amish community in Michigan. And so that was my reference point, right? Like, oh, they're Amish. Okay, well, why are Amish people looking in my window? Well, I didn't equate it at age 7, 8, 9 to the 1800s, right? And like fast forward to, we had this cat, she was pregnant, had kittens, we kept the kittens. I had one of those doors where like the top opened and the bottom stayed closed in my closet. And so we would put the kittens in my closet at night with the mama cat. And one night I kept hearing this clank, clank, clank. And I'm like, oh, the kittens must be due. So I get up and there's a little girl in my closet playing marbles. And then about that time, I ran up to my parents' bedroom and I was like, I'm not sleeping in that room anymore. I'm done. Like, stop. I'm done. Like, you can't make me sleep down there anymore. So my mom actually ended up moving my bed into their bedroom. And then around age 10, I was like, okay, I can move back to my own room. I'm 10. Like, I got this. I think within 2 weeks, I was back upstairs. There was a night where the man was in my window again. And it was, I saw him, but it was the feeling that he gave me that like he was coming for me. And I remember pulling the covers up over my head and going, I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. Stop. And literally, I'm almost confident that it was my spirit guides were like, she can't. And it literally shut off. Everything shut off for me until I was 18 years old.
Wow.
Like, I would get like premonitions here and there. And I'd feel like something was going to happen. Like the intuition part never left, but the mediumship part was shut down. I mean, hardcore shut down. Then I was in a really bad car accident at age 18. And it was almost like they were like, well, you've been in a car accident now. You can pretty much survive anything. Here you go. And so like, it was like a turn back on. And from 18 until, now, like I've just studied and strengthened. And like you said, it's like a muscle and I practice and, I miss my dad's physicality constantly. I miss hugging him and talking to him, but let me tell you, he talks to me enough. And sometimes it's like, whoa, stop. I don't need you to stop telling me how to drive. Like, I don't need you to talk to me while I'm driving. So I still have that very strong connection with him. But it's interesting because it comes and it goes. Like, he's not always around. Like, he's got stuff to do.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. I'm sure he's having fun. But there's times where I don't feel him, see him, hear him at all. And then there's times like the last 2-3 weeks where it's like, I see a reliable carrier's truck and that's who he worked for. The Eagles will come on the radio randomly and that was his favorite band. Or he'll visit me in my dream and he'll give me a hug. And it's been like just the last couple of weeks, it's been super, super strong. But it's also when I need him.
Yeah. Yeah. He gets that feeling of when you need him most. Do you think that there's any correlation? We were talking about the full moon. Do you think there's any correlation to the full moon and when spirit shows up more as well?
I think it depends on the person. I am not attached to the moon. At being a preschool teacher for as long as I was, I knew when a full moon was coming because I could tell you 2 to 3 days before it got here, like in its full force, that like kids are crazy and the parents are crazier. And it got really intense. And then it would like build. We'd have the full moon and then like that. But personally, I don't feel like I'm more clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient when the moon is full versus when it's not.
It's just consistent.
I just am at this point, and I've really, really had to work at knowing my boundaries and knowing who and what I will allow to come through. I've learned how to use my guides. It's so important when you do this work to use my guides to be my gatekeepers, basically.
Right.
So that's something that's super important to me, because Hattie is my like number one spirit guide. Her and I, she is my great-great-grandmother. I know who she is. I saw her in my mind's eye. My aunt brought me a picture and I about fell over. She's a little tiny itty bitty thing. Like but she's a very powerful person. And it's been learning those tricks has been super helpful. The other thing that I love about mediumship is I am a firm believer that anybody can connect to their loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Anybody. The problem, and you guys have, I'm sure you've heard Sunny say this time and time again, is if you focus on their absence, you can't feel their presence. Right. And when you're in that state of grief, and I mean, both of you walked with me through the whole thing with my dad. I mean, talk about low. Like I really thought I was going to be the hero and save him. Like I really, truly, like in my heart of hearts, even though I had one of my guardian angels tell me that that was not going to be the case. And I was basically like giving a finger, like, watch me prove you wrong. And so when I didn't win that, it was very hard on me. So I sunk really low. And when I sunk really low, I couldn't feel my dad. I couldn't hear my dad. I couldn't talk to my dad. I couldn't feel anybody for anybody. I mean, there was a good solid like 8 months where I was like, screw this. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. But people have other plans, and then they don't let you do that. So
in the vibrational scale, though, what I've learned is that grief is way at the bottom. It's such a low vibration. And I think that's why when I'm with Debbie, my abilities are enhanced, because like Debbie said, I help ground her and she helps like uplift my vibration. Yeah. And together there's this divine magic that happens. Yeah. An up-leveling for me. And it's amplified. Like, I love that. It's like, you know, if for those that are watching, it's like a dial on a radio where when Debbie and I are together, that static, it isn't static. It's like that energy kind of level. I can't even explain it, Deb.
It's like it just gets clear.
Yeah,
like all of a sudden it's like, okay, I'm not in the middle of between stations anymore. Right. And then it's interesting because when you and I are doing readings together, which is fairly new for us to do, it's like my abilities, all of a sudden, I didn't know I was clairvoyant. I would always call Kendra and be like, can you help me connect to so-and-so, right? And so then she would help me with that. And now I'm able to do that for other people. I'm still not able to do it for myself. I still can't see things for myself. And I'm pretty sure because most of the people the one person that passed for me, I've talked about in a previous show, was my stillborn son. I still have to go to Kendra about that. And what it shows up for me is there's still grief, there's still healing, and there's still some forgiveness for myself about that experience. So until I can fully heal from that experience, from being 19 years old, I'm almost 48 at the end of next month. So it's been a long time. I think he would be 29 right now. So I think that also has to do with anybody's abilities to communicate, is sometimes when you don't allow yourself to fully heal, that kind of still blocks you from connecting with personally for yourself, for that other loved one. It doesn't block it for when you're doing readings for others, but it is when you're trying to connect with spirit on your own.
Right. And that's exactly what Kendra was saying. When her dad passed, it was so hard on your heart that your abilities weren't gone. It's just that you were in so much grief that you weren't able to tune in as well as now that you're clearer again. And
it's like walking through a fog, right? Do you visualize it's like when they're here, you're so connected with them, and then when they're gone and you're in that grief, it's almost like you have to walk through that forest of fog until you can clear through all of that, and then you get to see that beauty, that paradise that you get to, because that's what it feels like, right? It just feels so good when you can connect with spirit, right? And when you're connecting with your loved ones.
And can I share something else that Kendra said that was very important? Because on my journey, until Vicky passed away, and incidentally, Debbie and I were accountability partners, friends with Vicky Mitchell. It's her Angel Day on March the 3rd, 4 years. Debbie and I are going to do a special edition of the Shine Sisters that day. However, when Vicky passed, her energy was so intense that I couldn't breathe. And I remember going to a mentor and saying, I can't breathe. And she's like, well, just think of it in terms of energy. And she didn't really help me with that energy. And I felt like great anxiety until another teacher, Cindy Smith, said to me, Julie, put up a gate. Put Vicky behind the gate. Doesn't mean you don't love her. Just put her behind the gate. And so I did. I said, I'm sorry, Vic, I love you, but I need to put you and everybody who's not my family behind the gate. And you can only pass through that gate when I tell Archangel Michael that you can come through that gate. And it has been the most peaceful for me that even now, when I do readings, I don't feel scared because I trust Archangel Michael implicitly. And I can feel it even with Vicky when I want her support, say, you know, we're growing, we're in biz school, we're wanting to create something. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm open to a message, but you need to help her bring her energy in so that I can breathe still.
Yeah.
And my family can come and go and I can discern their energy. And it was very interesting because in Sunny's class last week, she showed us a diagram of where family comes in and where friends come in. However, I just trust, like, I've never thought, well, if I feel Vicky over here, I feel spirit guide on my right side. Do you girls do anything like that where, no?
That's how I learned it. And that was really great in the beginning, right?
Kendra, do you?
So, no.
No,
I
me
don't.
either.
I feel like I don't follow the rules when it comes like not that there's rules. That's probably the wrong thing to say. I feel like I don't fit into what statistically the mediums that have been tested and validated and, you know, all this stuff. I don't feel like I ever fall into any, I don't check any of those boxes. Even one of my mentors was like, you kind of do things your own way. And I was like, well, this is how I've always been though. So I don't know. I do know of something different now that I was doing before that is considered rude in the spirit world. And I, for one, I never want to come across as rude. So I was like horrified that I was rude, which was, you know, you sit down with me for a reading and you're like, I want to talk to Bobby Joe Smith. And I'm like, okay, Bobby Joe Smith. And I like try to connect with the name, with the energy. That's considered rude. You don't do that because it's like someone coming to your door going, Giuliana. Or, you know, and maybe you don't want to be bothered right now. So the way I practice, I use little bits and pieces. But as far as like the familial thing, I don't get that. I did a reading on Sunday for a lovely young woman. And the guy that I told you about in our little chat before, the guy that kept coming through, like I knew he wasn't a boyfriend or a husband, but I kept feeling like, okay, he's not related to her, but like it almost felt like a cousin. Like it was this push back and forth. Well, when I got going and I started telling her who I was seeing and what he was saying, she goes, it was the boyfriend of her best friend. And then her boyfriend at the time was that guy's cousin. So I got the boyfriend and I got the cousin, but I knew it wasn't directly linked to her personally. And it was, the way I feel is like spatial. Like if it's your mom or your grandma, I can feel how close the energy is to you. If it's your friend, I can feel a closeness, but it's not as close as a familial relationship. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely. Well, because she presented this diagram and I was like, but when I'm in a reading, I'm not going to like worry if it's coming in on the left or coming in on the right. And because my intention is not mediumship. However, when, like, because I've read hundreds of people now with angel card readings, it's like, you know, those ones that have a child passed, or, you know, the ones that have a mom or a dad passed. And so often the energy, when you're working with angels, they'll bring to you an energy, but then I don't know what to do with it.
Right.
Does that
I started out as a feeler about 4 years. It was 2016, I think, is when I took that Sunny's mediumship class. And so she had the diagram, and then I've learned from Charles Virtue, and he had the male diagram, same diagram.
It's like a really popular diagram in the mediumship world.
Apparently it is. Well, Sunny got it from Doreen Virtue, and then Charles Virtue is her son, right? So that's how I learned it, but I was not doing well with it. It just wasn't making any sense, because I was starting to get thoughts, right? So here I feel like when you have the diagram, it's like if you're more of a feeler, I think that's supportive, right? But then when you start trusting that, then all of a sudden other things start opening up, or you're born with all of it, but you don't trust it always. And when you start trusting and having faith, then more things start opening up for you. So I was just hearing things, right? Like a thought would literally pop into my head. I guess that's way of a thought, but it felt like I hear grandmother, I hear uncle. And then it's like, that's a puzzle piece. And then you start putting the puzzle pieces together, and then you get a full reading from that. It's like, you know, really, you're creating that with your client, right? And so, yeah, that I don't think I know how to follow the rules either, because I'm just like, it just does. Like, I'm okay, I'll try it, you know, like, and then, but
I'm going to try anything if it's going to help me.
Makes you question more. You know what I mean? Don't you think it makes you start questioning your abilities more? Like, okay, well, it's supposed to be on my right side, but I'm hearing grandmother. So how it supported me when I first started when it started showing up, when mediumship started showing up more for me in the readings, is I would use that as a guide, because if I would hear grandmother, it would help me discern, okay, this is on your mother's side, correct? And I would ask that. And so knowing the right and the left, at least I got the grandmother hearing that, but then it helped me to figure out which side of the family it was on for them. And that was as far as it helped me.
So when I'm totally asking because you operate completely different than I do.
I know.
So when you say you hear grandmother, so like in my reading on Sunday, like her grandmother came through, and she was very much like, I'm his mom, like showing me the dad, like I'm his mom, I'm her grandmother. Like that's how, like literally that's how she came to me. Like, hey, now the friend cousin guy, like he was just, I mean, he just had a really solid message that needed to get through. Not even for her, it was for her friend. So he was taking the opportunity to be like, oh, I get to connect now. So here I am. And I mean, he was very like upfront, like I have to say this, and you have to tell her to relay the message to the friend because this needs to be said so the friend can move on with her life. And I was like, well, all right, and I don't know if you do this, and I have stopped doing this. I used to be like, they used to say things, or I'd hear them, and I'd be like, ooh, how do I like tactfully
I just say it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And I
say it because I'm not an interpreter. I'm just the messenger, right? We're just the medium between the two worlds, right?
So like there's words that are used that are not, I mean, I know the words, but like they are not my vocabulary. Like that is not how I talk.
I get
I'll even say it before I say it. I'll be like, these are not my words. I just want to clarify because this is going to come across as something that you may or may not want.
I'm like, I'm totally not trying to be a bitch or anything. I'm literally just saying what Spirit says. And because they need you to hear it their way, not me patting it for
trying to interpret what it is.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to make it sweet and nice. And then the client gets confused probably because if I try to soften the blow, like if they're going to throw out the F-bomb,
your personality,
I need to say the F-bomb. And so I'll say it and then I'll be like, I just need you to know that wasn't me as Debbie. This is your loved one literally saying this right now. And if I don't say it their way, you are going to not believe that this is really happening. And they need you truly to believe that they are here and they are completely connected right now with you. And yeah, so that when you were asking me, because we do it very differently. I had this one reading where I didn't even know who the person was. The lady didn't even want to hear from her husband, or ex-husband, actually. She hated him. All of a sudden, this man comes through. I didn't know who it was, wasn't getting any like words or X or anything like that. All I kept getting was like a movie clip of Ricky Ricardo. And I heard alcoholic womanizer. But I was seeing like this black and white movie going on, this little movie clip going on in my head of him just kind of sitting there like that. And so I described what I was seeing. And then that was her. She was able to be like, yeah, that's what my ex-husband was like. He was very much like Ricky Ricardo. He wasn't him. He didn't even look like him, but his mannerisms. And so spirit does it that way for me too, right? You know, they're just sending those ways. And like, yeah, because you kind of know if you know some of the things about what they're showing, right? Like Ricky Ricardo, if you know about him, like they've tried to give you little ways of how to, I don't know, just to make the communication easier, I guess. But like with celebs and stuff like that, because a lot of people know, you know, they research and stuff. So
and see, and I think for you, that's how they come through for you. Mine's completely different.
Yeah.
That's
not always though. Like that was just that one reading, but there was this last reading that we did there. It was them. And there was no movie clip that they needed. They were just like, oh no, I'm here. Yeah. This is exactly who it is. But I didn't hear any names or anything like that. I'm like you. And I think that's a lot with mediums, right? No matter how great you are. I mean, even Sunny said, even 80%, even the top psychic, only 80% of their messages are accurate or correct. Right. So and that's a high percentage.
I'm interested, Giuliana, like you said that you've been kind of like guarded, for lack of a better term, about when, and so for you, it's angelic realm.
Right.
That brings things to you, which is, to me, that sounds so like loving and comforting, like, here you are. And for me, it's like, you know, dude shows up 2 days before the reading, like, hey, I'm here, let's talk. I'm like, no.
And that's exactly what I don't want, right? And as I just think that my energy was so filled with energetic gunk, and that my healing journey has been a decluttering, if you will, of all of the years, 50, well, I was 46 when I got sick, and I'm 56. So 10 years of decluttering of all that energy that I had accumulated. And as I become clearer, that I am trusting also what I'm getting. And even though it's angels for me, because that's the sacred space that I'm able to create and feel good in, that then I can support my own energy, if that makes sense. Because I know Sunny says any of us that have a heart connection to a loved one can be a medium with that loved one. And I believe her. No, because we're all energetic beings. We're all psychic, and we all have that intuitive ability, and it's learning. It's like, even before I knew Sunny, when I was sick, and I was so afraid. And I remember my grandma just popping in and saying to my mom, Mom, I see grandma in my peripheral vision. And my grandma died when I was 10 years old. And I knew she was here because I needed the mothering and I needed the comfort. And my mom and dad live in BC, and my mom had, ran for mayor and won. And so she wasn't able to mother me the way that I needed. Not that she didn't mother me, because she did when I needed her. However, she had her own journey. And for me, I needed this support of these light beings to help me. And so I being a God girl, believe in the dark. Like I do. I'm not, and I'm sorry for those, this is my truth. I believe in heaven and I believe in hell. And I have seen with Mother Mary the validation of hell. And it is confirmed. If anybody knows the Fatima story, she showed those 3 kids the fires of hell. And so as a little girl, I grew up with the belief that I needed to be good, and that even in the Bible, this is where I've had so much unraveling of old programming, if you will, that I am safe. I'm not doing anything wrong. That when I'm feeling loved ones and other people's loved ones with me, I can be in a safe environment and what I'm feeling is valid. And that it is a learning of how to communicate. Just like you said, we don't open our front door to just allow anyone in.
Right.
And that's same within the spirit world. And for me, the angels have helped support my energy so that as I have more experiences, that what I'm feeling is safe, is good, is right.
Yeah.
And
And
I
can honestly say, and it's funny because I remember when I met you, and it's been years since I've met you. And like, I remember my first interaction with Debbie at a spirit talk down with Sunny. And then like my second interaction with her. And I was like, I am going to throat punch this woman. Like quit asking the same damn, like I'm going to lose it with her. And looking back now, it was mostly like my insecurities because I was just in a place that I wasn't happy with my like station, I guess, in life for about, I don't really have another term for it. But it was just funny because I remember like the second time, I'm like, oh my God, like she has to stop. Like this can't. And then I met you and like, but I remember you posting about, how some of your more religious friends were very unsupportive of this aspect. I actually lost my college best friend when I came out and started, I guess, practicing, and being more open about what was going on with me and my abilities, because her fiance was, very much I was doing devil's work. And
Right.
Who was I to think that I had this ability and, no one is that special and da-da-da. And I mean, and the insults just hurled across the table at 2 a.m. I ended up leaving their house and like driving to a hotel. I was staying with them. Like I was in Michigan visiting, and it was very angry and very demeaning. And all I kept thinking was like, well, who are you to tell me I can't do that? I'm not doing anything negative. In my heart, I'm not doing anything negative. And, I have had negative encounters. I've been doing, I actually, from the time I was like 4 or 5, had things going on until I was 10, and then 18 and I'm 40, I'll be 42 this year. And I really have only ever encountered like 2 really negative energies. And one wasn't necessarily a negative energy. He was just very angry that I was refusing to pass on a message. It happened to be my ex-husband's biological father. And he was very angry while my ex and I were going through our divorce. And he came to me, and I mean, it was intense. And I remember saying out loud in my bedroom when I first moved out to Arizona, I was like, you are not allowed in my room. You are not allowed in my house. You are not allowed in my energy. You are not allowed in my space. You are to never contact me again. Like, he crossed a line. But it was more out of his frustration that I wouldn't deliver the message to my ex-husband. And
Right.
at that point I was like, my ex-husband doesn't deserve that message. He doesn't deserve the time. He's not going to listen to you. He's definitely not going to listen to me. Like, this is pointless. Since then, I relayed the message, and like, basically the message was like, you shouldn't get divorced. Like, you made a mistake. And, here we are. So, but that I really negative entities, negative energies. I've had, maybe I could probably count on one hand how many times, and I've always taken control. I don't let them scare me. If they do get scary, like, I really do call in, and I don't do the angel thing so much as I do the spirit guides and the guardian angels, because I know my guardian angel, because he only speaks to me when there's life altering things about to happen.
Oh.
And like, physically hear him, like I hear you. And the one time was with my dad. The one time was when I was going to miscarry a baby.
Oh.
One time I was turning left onto somewhat like a carefree highway, and it was nighttime, and no one was with me. I was completely by myself, and it was like probably midnight or so, and I heard this voice come out of the back seat of my car go, "Don't go yet." And it scared me. I didn't go, and there was someone, I was turning left, and there was someone coming, and the guy didn't have his lights on.
Wow.
I would have been obliterated.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Debbie, do you have any stories? Because
Yeah.
thing,
I have one. I only have one that I've experienced, and Kendra actually had to come over to my house.
Yeah, we had to do some kicking of some butt.
Yeah, and it was that whole Ricky Ricardo guy. He wanted to hang out. I used to do readings in my bedroom. I no longer do that because that's my sacred space. And I was just trying to find a room in my house that was quiet from my kids and my dogs and all the life stuff that we deal with, right? And I've accepted now that I don't need to do that. So I moved down to a guest room, and this is where I do my readings. And ever since, I haven't had any experiences like that. But yeah, I did. The guy stayed around because it was weird. And where I started to notice that the negativity was not with me, it was through my husband. Like he was messing with my husband when my husband was drinking. The guy was an alcoholic. When my husband would drink too much, he would be such a jerk, like beyond anything that I've ever experienced. And I've been with him for 22 years. And I was just like, okay, this just doesn't feel right. So I would reach out to Kendra, and I was like, something just isn't right. And I couldn't connect that was where it came from. But she figured it out. She was, like puzzle pieces, putting things together. So we sat down in the middle of my bedroom and she had a conversation with me and that guy. And she made it very clear how he's not just messing with my husband and I. He was messing with my children. Mm-hmm. Right? He was messing with our family dynamic, and that's what got his attention. It's like, oh, because even though they're on the other side, correct me if I'm wrong, even though they're on the other side, they're still them, right? Mm-hmm. They're still that same personality. They might have a bigger view of life and a different understanding now, a better understanding of life, but it's still their personality that's still coming through, right? So he was still that angry man, and he saw an opportunity to use my husband, who is more of a gentle guy for the most part, and was using only when he was drinking, though, is when things would start to get.
And there was a lot of misogynistic undertones.
Very much so.
It's really interesting because that's one of Debbie's huge triggers. So like he almost knew when and what to say to like push her. Mm-hmm. And so he was just nasty, but we
gone. Ever since she came over, it lasted from a very, very short time. And then I believe that he really got full understanding and just got bored and was like, okay, I gotta go. I'm
not gonna play anymore. I'm done.
I'm not having any fun anymore. And I don't want to.
How did you clear it, Kendra? How did you clear him out?
Well, we were very verbally strong, like, and energetically. And I know we called in Archangel Michael and put a bubble around the house, and, and her husband, and especially the boys, because even the boys were like agitated. I would say agitated.
Yeah.
They weren't angry, but like they were agitated. Mm-hmm. She's like, they're just not acting like themselves. Like, this is so not my household. And this guy just kind of liked to push. So it was very much, invocation. Mm-hmm. I don't go in, like, I've only ever done a green fire. I don't know if you guys know about green fire. Mm-hmm. I've only ever had to do a green fire once. It is definitely not my favorite thing to do. I'm always afraid I'm going to burn people's houses down when I do it because it's so intense. But I did have to do one because almost kind of the same situation where there was just this guy, and it was an older home, and my friend lived there with her husband and 2 boys, and her husband would just fly off the handle for no reason. He was just angry, and she's like, I can't live like this. Like, what is going on? And so I came over while her husband was at work one day, and the boys were at school, and I made her leave the house, and I just sat. I'm getting chills up my back. Mm-hmm. And I just sat, and I was like, who are you? What are you? What are you doing? What do you want? Well, he did not like women. And my friend was a very strong woman. I mean, she ran her household. And we ended up having to do a green fire, like in the back part of her house, which is where he liked to hang, which was by her son's bedrooms. And that was the only time I ever did that. I don't really use sage or anything like that. I'm more of a very verbally like aggressive kind of clearer. If I have to use something, like I usually just follow my gut because it's not always sage, it's not always Palo Santo, it's not always vetiver, it's not always, it can be something else. I've had really good success with that, but I also think invoking Archangel Michael and for Debbie's purpose, because he's such a strong presence and he's so like, I'm gonna like cut this, we're done, no more. That was super helpful.
Yeah.
And I also think that was super helpful. That has nothing to do with me, is that she went to her husband and she's like, look, whether you believe this or not, this is what she thought, felt, heard, blah, 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 blah. We need to make a conscious effort to not fall into this pattern. Right. And you need to know, and this is the same with my other friend, you need to know, is this you or is this influenced you? Mm-hmm. Because when you're drinking, you're open. I don't know about you guys, but like when I have been in Vegas and I have been very well hydrated with alcohol and I was getting, like, you want to talk about downloads? I mean, I was at a bar with my husband and all his friends from his high school in Singapore, and we're having a great time. And all of a sudden there's this man following me, like, and spiritually, not, he wasn't physical. And he's going on and on and on about the bartender. And I have to go talk to the bartender, and the bartender this, and there's a key and this, and he's showing me this old roll top desk. And he's like, there's a key, it's fallen behind and they're looking for it. And I'm dead. And you need to tell them. And it's a key to a lockbox and they need it. And I'm like, am I just drunk? Like,
that was happened to me too, but way before I even knew anything about this.
I'm like, what's going on? So I like kind of tucked myself into a corner, and the band that was playing was like a cover band for like Linkin Park, Eminem, Blink 182, like that kind of ska rap 90s kind of grungy, there's some Nirvana in there. And I'm sitting in the corner and I'm like, okay. And I'm talking out loud to myself because that's normal. And I'm like, if this is real, the next song that band is going to play is a country song because, right, like they're playing Eminem. They're not freaking Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy by Brooks and Dunn. And I'm like, I literally was like in the corner by myself and I'm like, oh my God, I got to go talk to the bartender. Okay. So like I go to this bartender. Hey. He's like, what can I get you? I'm like, your grandpa says that the key is in the roll top desk and it has fallen behind and it's an old desk and you're going to have to take a drawer out. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, he's about that tall and he looks like this and there's a desk and a key and I don't know what else to tell you, but that's where it is. And he's like, are you for serious? And I said, I don't do this very often. This hardly ever happens to me. Like normally I have to set up appointments and things like that. He is telling me that this is what you need to do. And he goes, we have been looking for that key to that lockbox since he died. He goes, my grandmother has searched her entire house. I'm like, well, it's behind the roll top desk and it fell behind. You're going to have to like take it apart to find it. And then I walked away. I was like, there's your information. I mean, like seriously, that's how stuff happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't know that would happen. Right. Years and years ago, I was, I think I was in Breckenridge with Thomas and we would go party there and stuff. And I would drink and it would just be like a few people in the bar and me and Tom sitting at the bar talking to the bartender. And the more and more I would drink, I was like, I would know things and I would say things and the guy would be like, what are you talking? Like, he's like, yeah. And I was like, I really think I'm psychic, but I'm so drunk I can't tell if I am or not. But that would keep happening to me, right? I was just like, but you just don't know. So now that I know what I know, I'm like, okay, be really conscious when you're drinking and you're really calling your angels before you go out. Like that's like tip number one, right? Like calling your angels or your guides or whoever helps you and really help with maintain your energy. So you're not open to everything. Because when I went to Vegas, I was there for a Hay House conference and I came home. I had so many dark energies just connected to me. I was feeling depressed and down. And I was like, okay, I've really never had this experience. And I met with one of my friends, Kira. That's just before I think you and I were totally hanging out, Kendra. And she's like, Debbie, you have so many dark energies because when you go in there, here you're this bright light and you're so excited. And, yeah, and they're just like, woof, I want to talk to her, you know, and be with her. And I brought them home with me. And I couldn't believe my energy. Weird and wrong. And I was like, this is not my life. I'm a really good manifester. This doesn't feel right.
Right.
Oh, yeah, but you got to get that stuff cleared off, right? You got to set that intention and get it all cleared off. Those are some of the cons, I feel like, if there are cons about connecting with spirit and being this open vessel that we are, you know, and communicating and being open to communicate with the spirit world. That's probably the only things.
Yeah, that's why, you know, I don't do readings when I'm drinking. Not that I drink a lot. However, I'll never drink, you know, and do a reading. And one time I was a very new intuitive and I was invited to do a pulmonary hypertension gala at this like really big, it was a humongous bar, saloon type. I will never do that ever again. I walked in, we had booths. There was this psychic next to me and she came up to me and she goes, I'm the real psychic. And I was a newbie and I'm like, okay, that's nice.
Yay for
And
you.
she was next to me and she was just, when I think of it now, you know, anybody that needs to claim that they're a better psychic than you, A, is an ego, B, has big problems, and C, is not somebody that I want to hang out with. So, you know, I did my work that night, but so many people came and were drunk and smelled like booze. That is not my ideal client.
No.
It was an amazing experience to hold my energy, but to be in the dark and to have all that music and people drinking, it's not my environment.
No, I don't ever intend on giving drunk people readings. It's just apparently I like to give them when I'm drunk. So.
Oh no, I'm not judging. I'm just saying.
No, I know. It's just so funny. Like, I don't know if I could read a drunk person. I think that would be super challenging because their energy would be so wonky.
Yeah, they'd be all over the place that they wouldn't be able to really like understand or comprehend what you're saying to them in the first place.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like we were, you know, Debbie and I were talking too, because I've learned so much through, you know, different mentors that I've tapped into. And one of them was very specific when I took her mediumship class about how to run the business part of it. Right. And I suck at that. I'm not going to lie. I am horrible. I am not the person who's like, oh, your hour's up. Like, we're done now. I have horrible boundaries. And I completely own that. But here's my thing. And I know, like, we talk about this, Debbie and I talk about this a lot because we always talk about price pointing, right? And I know someone here in Arizona who charges $575 for 45 minutes of her time. And she's freaking amazing and worth every penny. Every penny. I know some people who charge $350. I know some people who charge $400 for 45 minutes to an hour. I won't say how much I charge because the one on the bottom will like be mad. I come from a place, and I think, you know, like you said, Giuliana, like we just want to help people heal, right? Like that is my thing. I went through from age probably 26 till I was 30 something. Like my life was just like constant roller coaster. Like, you know, I've been evicted from houses. I've had my car repossessed. I like when I was going through my divorce, I had a lot of just issues in general, like trying to get back on my feet. But that was the time that I needed that support from someone. That's when I needed a reading. That's when I needed to connect with my grandmother, my grandfather, my friend who passed away. Those were those desperation times when I was so low. I wanted to reach out to someone and be like, I need it. But I didn't have like $200 to go drop on a reading. I was lucky. My parents were super sweet and every year gifted me a reading for Christmas. So I got my reading, but I couldn't pay for it. So like that was another thing that I go round and round with people about is like, I so desperately, like, I can't be like, oh, look, it's been an hour and your grandmother's still talking, but I'm just going to have to stop you right there. It's so hard for me. It's so hard for me. And I have ended readings where I'm like, okay, and even though like the energy's still there, like things, you can feel things kind of dwindling down, and like they've said what they wanted to say and you've said what you wanted to say, and they're still kind of hanging out like, maybe we'll say some more, but I can't imagine doing like back-to-back readings. Like I think energetically that would be so difficult. Like I limit myself to like 2 or 3 a day, if that. Like I like doing like 1 or 2 and kind of spreading them out.
I really like now that I like offering 2 different pricing, right? So I don't think I'm very expensive. I don't like it when people charge $20 when you're going to give, an hour of your time. That I think is.
Well, I don't charge $20.
Well, I know you don't, but Giuliana used to, and maybe it was for a half hour, but she used to really, and I always would encourage her, and I'm like, okay, you need to remember that this is a job, right? That you are doing this as a service to people, and you need to honor yourself. You need to honor all the education that you went through to be available to everybody. And if you think about all the education and all the finances and all the time, you need to honor that for yourself. And in exchange, people will come to you, right? And they'll pay you what you're worth. And
well, you two have done such an incredibly beautiful job. And I know my circumstances are different. Like I have like an office job and things like that. So this is not my primary focus. This is my love. It is something that every time I get to do it, it is something I will never be tired of.
Yeah.
Because like you said earlier, the focusing on the hits, right? Like when I got that text message, which is so funny that it happened today, right before, not funny, right? But like timing wise, it's great. When I got the text message from the young lady that I read on Sunday and all the validation and just like, here's a picture of the person you saw. And then I'm looking at the picture going, holy shit, this is the guy, but you two have done such a beautiful job of like really living in this realm of doing readings and, doing the things that you're super passionate about. I love my job. I'm super passionate about my job. I'm really good at my job. I learn every single day about nutrition and holistic things, and holistic medicine, which is super close to my heart. But doing readings is like my absolute, like even card readings. I love card readings. I think they're fun. I think like I love being able to do different spreads and different things. And I, like you guys like have a million different decks. But I always like when you guys are like, we're going to do this. And then you're online or like, you're like, oh, we're going to pull a card for the day. I'm like, I could have totally gotten up and pulled a card for the day, but I don't because I just am in like work mode constantly.
Well,
so
I think that's
fun for me to talk about all this.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being in biz school. And I had to work through all those worthiness issues. And, when I disconnected from my full-time job, I had a lot of grief around it. And I loved what I did. I was proud of what I did. And to hang the intuitive shingle was hard on me. Yeah. And I know so many people told me, you have to charge. Debbie's been my greatest cheerleader, especially because I have done so much free in my life that I taught people very well that Giuliana's going to do it for free. And then as I shifted, there was a great shift with me. And now people are seeing me as the teacher, the intuitive that I am. So charging money isn't as hard for me. That's why I love aligning with Debbie, because we charge 125 US because you're getting 2 of us. And so, doing the readings, you're getting the intuition, you're getting, like Debbie said, all of the years of education that the 2 of us combined bring. And so
I think we're really reasonable with what we charge. I think what we do is we sit there and we think about first of all, how can we be of service? That's always first and foremost, right? And then the money pops into our head. Like I don't know which one of us came up with the price. And I was just like, well, this is what I charge for 30 minutes. This is what you charge. So let's just kind of try to bring it together and let's combine it and let's make this reasonable. And it's so far been great, you know, and I mean, we could probably charge more. We're not going to, you know, but we could with what we have to offer.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is, you know, I love doing Reiki, right? Like I've gone the whole thing. I've learned how to attune people. I can run workshop. Well, it's been COVID, but you know,
right.
Like I will be able to run workshops and attune people for Reiki and do all that stuff. So what started happening in my Reiki session is people started showing up and wanting me to tell the person I was working on, and it turned into a mediumship reading while I'm like working on them. And so it got to a point where I was like, okay, like Reiki, there's people here that are colleagues of mine in the Reiki world that charge $95 for an hour. I am not that person. I charge $60 for an hour. Basically I look at it as $1 a minute. But then it started where like people were getting readings out of me because, you know, grandpa wants to tell so-and-so on the table, like what's going on in the other side. And I was like, no, dude, like we can't, like I've got to up this. So I ended up redoing, I think it's even on my website. Like I ended up redoing it where like I can do Reiki and a card reading for you, or I can do Reiki. And if the mediumship thing, like I also read the room, right? Like I always preface this with like, cause there's some people who just want Reiki. They don't want to hear from Grandpa Bob. Like they don't care. And, you know, even though maybe they need to hear the message, they don't want to hear it. So I always say to them, you know, this is what happens sometimes. And are you open to it? And then I'm not like, oh, I'm going to upcharge you because that's horrible of me. But I've also been very much like, okay, other realm. Like this is my space. This is my Reiki room. We're not doing this.
Yeah.
I do with Reiki a lot of, it's almost like coaching. Like
right. Me too.
Like I can feel where they're at in life, and I will tell them, you know, this chakra is blocked because you're at a crossroads. Like you are not taking your personal power. You are not speaking your truth. Your solar plexus, your throat chakra are completely blocked, and we're going to have to sit here and work on it.
Yeah.
You know, I had one client where I literally saw her standing on the edge of a cliff, like the Grand Canyon. Like she's standing, and I could feel her contemplating if she wanted to jump.
Mm-hmm.
Not in like a suicidal way, but like do I need to take this leap of faith? Was what it was. Sorry, like the sunshine is like really coming down on me now.
I know, beautiful.
Well, I like that. You know, we've all figured out what's right for us and, you know, and valuing ourselves. And the more and more that we expand, the more and more we have to offer. And we always have to be thoughtful about ourselves as well as being thoughtful for the client. And that's when I look at money, right? It's an energy exchange. I want to give you everything, but the more and more that you do, it uses a lot more energy, right? And so which means the energy exchange needs to increase. That's how I view it now.
Yes.
When you're done, when you're like, oh my God, the sun is literally like in my eye. When you're done doing a reading, do you feel tired? Do you feel like?
It depends.
Okay.
Some people, there's been one time where I literally got a migraine. And it was because this person had so much anxiety and so much depression, and they were suffering from migraines that I did not protect myself enough. And so then I literally had a migraine for 24 hours after that reading. I've never allowed that to happen again. So each time I learned something new about the different tools and to take it seriously, right? Because we are using ourselves, we are using our energy. And we need to be compensated for our energy, our time. I mean, we don't go to a doctor and say, doctor, can you give me a deal on this?
Right.
We don't. And, you know, we're both healing. No, we're not doing brain surgery, but we're both doing healing work, right? We're just healing the inside where they're healing their internal organs or their outsides or their broken bones or whatever. So I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't compare myself to a doctor, but I feel like some of the things we do, we can shift that mindset for them where maybe they won't have to go to see the doctor, right?
Giuliana, what about you? Are you like, I know you guys are super good at protecting your energy.
Not anymore.
Okay.
When I first started, I thought it was me. So one of my very first readings, like 6 years ago, was for a young woman it was a romance reading because it was this time of year around Valentine's, and she came for a reading, and I read her, and she asked if they were going to stay together. And that day, the energy in that day was a yes. That's why I don't do forecasting anymore. I leave that up to God. And I think that she thought that, well, Giuliana said we were going to stay together, and they ended up breaking up.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so I've evolved where now I feel uplifted, and I don't do this work if I have a headache or if I'm having, personal issues in the home. I won't do it. And that's my personal choice, only because I can't hear and I can't feel when I have too much noise in my brain.
Mm-hmm. I love what Ellen said down here. She says, I love that. Ellen says, Debbie is boss with the energy exchange.
So Ellen said she wished that she was having a coffee with us. I invited her on the show, and she said she would love to. So thank you, Kendra, for showing up today, because this is really, it's nice. It's different. It's really great to share our experience with our listeners, because then they can see that there's nothing to be afraid of, and maybe it might inspire others to trust their intuition and their guidance, in that if you have a heart connection with your loved one, you can walk through the grief and heal and feel, hear, see, and know your messages. And if we can support that journey, then we're here to be of service. And, like Debbie said, we all get our messages different. I remember the analogy that Sunny used, that being an intuitive and doing a reading is much like an elephant being presented in front of you. Kendra might get around the ears. Debbie, you might get the trunk. I might get the ass. Right? But it's all the elephant. And so we like to, we like to make people laugh too.
Seriously, when you said Debbie might get the trunk, my mind just...
I was like, no, man, I really got the ass, because
I feel like
you guys are getting trunk and ass, and I just get ears. That's great.
I don't know why I said that, but you know what I mean. It's that whole elephant analogy that it's not right or wrong, good or bad. And Ellen being on here might get something else, and it can help paint a picture of what you're walking through to support you and guide you, and really allow you to walk with more ease and grace. That's what my intention is as I do this work. It's not to make money. The money is a secondary. The money helps support my experiences. I do this because I know the healing that can happen when you allow somebody to help guide you through the use of cards or mediumship, or a combination, like you said, Kendra. That's who I am. It's like when you get me, it's a little bit of everything: mentor, guide, prayer warrior, sister, mother, whatever you're needing in that moment, I'm able to show up in a way. And it's hard to share that with people, to say, well, yeah, I'm a card reader, but it's so much more.
That's why it's hard to even put a label. Like when I'm in the process of creating a new website, and it's a challenge to try to come up with, well, who am I?
Right.
I'm not just a coach. I'm not just a stylist. I'm not just a medium. I'm not just, it's all of it encompassed. So it's like coming up with the word that feels correct, that still conveys what your abilities are and what your gifts are and how you can serve them. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges. I'd say that's more of a challenge for me than charging money, is figure out, well, how do I explain what I do and how I do it and how I can serve you, right? That's a challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be truthful. With this pandemic, there's a lot of people in Alberta that are suffering. Like our travel and tourism sector is wiped out, basically. our oil and gas, because we had such a rich province that relied on oil and gas, that people put us down here when really we should be up here.
Oh, totally. Like what Ellen said, she's like, they're dealing with symptoms. We work with the root.
Right.
We're getting to the soul level of what people are experiencing, because they're showing up so vulnerable with us, right? And so when we get to tap into that energy, and then spirit comes in and even gets really to the root of the situation, and then we can help at least support them with clearing it, giving them tools to clear it, right? I love when she said that. I was like, okay, I gotta.
Like, I met Ellen, I think at MBS is where I met her. And her and Rich Cloud were in my MBS class. And it was very interesting because when my father got sick, and I will tell you, it was Christmas Day of 2016. My dad was getting ready to leave here, and he had not been feeling well for a few months, and he had dropped some weight and was struggling, and we didn't know what was wrong with him. And that was the one time I heard from my spirit guide, or my guardian angel, as my dad was getting ready to leave to go to his girlfriend's house, whom I despised, by the way. I heard this voice go, "This is your last Christmas with him."
Oh.
And I was like, excuse my language, I was like, the fuck it is. You know, and I threw an adult-sized temper tantrum, begging him not to go, to stay home and be with us, because it was our last Christmas with him. And it was our last Christmas with him. And I had so many questions, like, why did I hear that? Why was I privy to that information? Like, when I asked Sunny, and I'm like, why would my guide tell me that? And she's like, I took it as a challenge. Right. And she's like, well, yes, that was the wrong interpretation of the information. Like, mine was like, yeah, I'm going to beat this. And she's like, no, things were already in motion. Things were already going. You were just being forewarned. Right. Like, he knew, your angel knew, and mine's a male, like, knew that you needed that information. So Ellen, and I don't even know if you guys know this, was literally on my speed dial the entire time my dad was sick. I called that woman and texted her more because I call her and Rich my spiritual parents. Mm-hmm. Because my mom was going through a lot when my dad was sick. My parents were divorced, and my mom had a lot of guilt, and there was a lot. So she couldn't be there for me. And Ellen, even though it wasn't every day, all day, sorry. She was so there when I needed her. And there was one point when we thought the cancer had spread to my dad's brain, and I knew it hadn't. Owen, come here. I knew it hadn't. I knew there was something else going on medically with him. And I called her. I was texting her from the emergency room, and I'm like, I know this is not this. His cancer hasn't spread. I know it. I feel it. And she's like, well, then you need to say something. Right. Like, she was that person for me that was like, no, you need to follow that intuition. But I was in such a mental, like, tailspin with everything. There's someone ring my doorbell. So, but yeah, she was such a driving force in that journey for me. So I don't even know if you guys knew that about her.
No, I didn't.
Oh, wait.
That's what's been the beauty of this tribe that a lot of people don't recognize. However, when we show up now, you know, there's been a closeness that we've been there for each other as we've walked through some really painful experiences, because life goes on while we're learning and growing, healing and expanding. And, you know, one of our teachers, Sunny Dawn Johnston, says we're all teachers, we're all students. Mm-hmm. And we've had the support, like with Ellen, with Rich, with a lot of different people in the community. And there's times that we can come together and then we go farther apart. Mm-hmm. And now being able to come together to shine our own lights, that's why Debbie and I are the Shine Sisters, because we recognize that, you know, we've done a few. Well, it started with Vicky. Let's face it, right, Deb? Today when I was looking for a picture, you know, you, me, and her tried Zoom. As soon as Sunny did Zoom, the three of us were in the Zoom. Yeah. Commiserating. And, we pushed each other in good ways to grow and to challenge ourselves and then to show up, because we are all wells of information. And if we can help others, then that's what our intention is. And that's why I thought, I need to not close that door of mediumship and not be in fear, because I don't live in fear anymore. I really don't. I'm mindful to take care of my energy and to live in the present moment. And of course, to be mindful of the future, but I don't live in the future. I live in today. Yeah. And Monday, I was able to start in-person readings again at the Salt Room, and I'm an in-person teacher. I mean, I'm getting better online, but being in person is my greatest love. And that's why I love being able to do this, because it is testing me that, okay, what am I feeling? What am I hearing? What am I seeing? What am I knowing? And then being with Debbie, I felt safe enough that I have done that before, channeled. However, I had some fear around it. But with Debbie, I felt the support that it just came through. And our client, like, it was good information, right? I mean, I love doing the readings with Debbie because it's a different experience than doing it alone. Because you get that automatic validation that, yeah, I'm feeling that too. And like, we haven't had any issues, if you will. It's been amazing. And so I said to Debbie, like, we need to create more opportunities to do more together, because we really do shine when we're doing this, and people feel that. It's like, we didn't do this. Yeah, the money is nice. It really is, because it goes into our PayPal and it allows us to have experiences, take classes. Today I bought
grow as a whatever,
Yeah.
I keep shifting. I have like really high windows.
Yeah, lots of shining. You're like the third shiny sister.
Yeah, I feel like a vampire. Like I need to.
Well, we are about an hour and 20 minutes, so probably start to wrap this up. I love what Ellen says. Our tribe can continue to grow. I appreciate each of you. We appreciate you too, Ellen. And collaboration is so vital. I agree completely. I find I love doing readings individually, but I feel even more confident because when I'm doing a reading with Giuliana now, because my energy, my vibe raises so high when I'm connected with you and to spirit for the client. It blows my mind, and I'm literally like buzzing, like, it's amazing, the energy that just keeps flowing. It's like crazy. I'm like, okay, I didn't know that I could be this high vibe. I knew I was joyful and stuff and could do it, but yeah, it's that I love, collaborating is a phenomenal thing. I encourage everyone to do it, but you got to make sure you do it with someone that you fully can trust.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, right? Because people will collaborate. Like I used to teach a class. We were offering, me and this gal were offering a 7-week class, and I thought that we trusted each other, but then there ended up in the end became about betray. Like she betrayed me, right? She ended up taking all the students and telling them a story that wasn't correct. So that scared me. So anytime that anyone would ask me to collaborate with them, I was like, that's nice. And I wouldn't necessarily say no. I would just be like, let me think about that, and I'll get back to you. And I would never get back to them. And then when you asked me, what was this, a month or 2 months ago now, right?
2 months now, yeah.
I literally had no qualms. I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Well, I think it's because, Deb, we met at that retreat at the Briar Patch, right? Yeah. That was our first meeting. And then, we were in accountability and mastermind with Vicky and others. And we've shared so much that when something goes on now, I think of you right away. And like I said to you the other day, I don't feel that competition vibration. And I do feel safe. Like I want to grow with you. That's the difference. Yeah. And I'm getting all God bumps in this moment. It's like it's a true love. That even though a lot of people in the spiritual world say, oh, you're my sister. No, I do not claim that for everybody anymore. They are someone that I met at a retreat, or someone that I may have taken a class with, but a true soul sister. I can honestly say that's what you are to me. And Kendra, Kendra, before I go, I want to just affirm what a super daughter you were with your dad. That, I remember you left no stone unturned in your love for your dad and in helping him during that time, that I know, just a knowing within me, that you did help his exit.
Oh, yeah. No, and I mean, we're like 3.5, almost 4 years now since then. And there's been so much that I've learned and so much that I know now, just things that he's told me and things that I felt that, there was a gift in all of it.
Right.
As much as it sucked.
Right.
And as much as I still have my breakdown moments, there is definitely a gift in walking that journey with him and being able to be the person I was to him. Do you know what I mean? Like being able to not work and be by his side. And I mean, and that all has to do with, my family and my husband and being all the understanding people in my life are like, okay, we know what you're going to do. We're going to be here to support you. And I was not the nicest person. I mean, I was not nice. I was tired. I was irritated. I was angry. Like there were so many emotions all wrapped up in that. But my dad always he'd always be like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then I would yell at him and be like, okay, why, how can you say that? And he gets I said, what if you die? What if you die? Like, you're going to leave me here with my mom and my brother? Like, what are you thinking? Like, what, what if, and he goes, what if I do? And I said, well, they're going to have to sedate me. They're going to have to put me in a home. I'm going to have to be in a padded room. None of those things had to happen.
Nope. Who are you now?
And I was so fortunate to be with him when he took his last breaths, and that transfer of energy is something that I will never forget. This dog really wants to be part of this.
Hi, Owen.
This is Alice.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, Alice.
Yeah, the puppy who thinks she needs to be everywhere. But no, and I appreciate that. And I'm, as time has gone on, my mom, my brother have both, spoken to me about their perception of how I handled things. And now it's all been positive. So, I mean, in the moment, it wasn't. In the moment, it was very you're doing this wrong and you're doing that wrong and you need to do this. But now in hindsight, of course, right?
Yeah.
Things have calmed and things are good. And, but I had so much support from everybody, and it never escapes me, and I never forget it. I never, ever, I literally, before we started this today, I was folding some laundry, and I almost texted my brother because he's doing phenomenally well right now. And I almost texted him and I was like, do you ever just stop and think how grateful you are for every decision, good, bad, indifferent, that you've made to get to where you are right now, today? Because if it wasn't for all those wrong turns, if it wasn't for all the heartbreak, if it wasn't for all the grief, if it wasn't for all the happiness and the joy, this wouldn't be now, right? It would be something, it would look very different. And I am forever grateful at the heartbreak and the rock bottom, because there were some rock bottoms.
Yeah.
But they were good rock bottoms now.
And that's the secret, I think, that, if you can walk through one of your lessons and come out on the other side and see your blessings and your blessings, then you've come through it with ease and grace, even when it didn't feel that way.
Right. So that was kind of right before we got started. I was like, it's right now. It's this moment, it's the dog barking, it's the echoey feelings, it's the whatever, it's the freaking sunlight. It's all this stuff. And it's so and I'm always just so grateful for solid friendships and people that, I know I can go to, and that people that get me, dead people, you're not necessarily crazy.
You're not crazy.
That's such an important thing, is to create a friendship and a tribe that people just get you. That is so important, especially doing these type of this work, right? Is finding people who truly get you without judgment or competition or anything. It's so
well, and I think it's so important for women because
Yes.
I mean, not to take away from men, because there are plenty of intuitive men in this world. And I think we're actually raising a new generation of the intuitive man. I mean, our sons, Debbie, and even you, Giuliana, included. I see something very different in them than my father's generation or even like our generation of men. But I think for women, it is so important because I would tell you 90% of the women that I've worked with Reiki, it is their solar plexus and it is
Right. Yes.
throat chakras that are blocked. And it's because we've been taught for so long to just sit down, be quiet, be pretty, and do this, like, do the thing. Like, and yes, there have been women that broke the mold, and I totally appreciate everything they've done for us. But I would say as a whole, it's been so difficult, and especially this work, because you think about the history of this work, the herbal medicine, the, witchcraft.
I was just thinking that as you said it.
I was too.
The church and the not bashing churches, but like the church and the government have been used to keep us in place. And I think there's so many women that are so intuitive and they know it and they feel it, but they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Today, Crystal Andrus Morissette had a post that said, "Why were we raised to fear the witches
I saw that.
and not the people who killed the witches?"
Because
I thought, oh, that's profound, isn't it? Because I remember when I did my goddess work, I had somebody come up to me and say, "What, are you a witch now?" And I went to Velva Dawn and I said, "Am I a witch now?" She laughed and laughed. I mean, it's other people's perception. And I finally gotten to that point where, I'm not going to attract people that if they think I am or they think I'm not, then that's their problem. Right. This is who I am. And I will attract those that I'm meant to attract. And that's what is an amazing beauty of this medium now, of sharing these abilities so that people can maybe let go. And that's the card that I got today, was letting go. Let go of those old paradigms, let go of those old beliefs, let go of everything that's no longer serving you and get into the flow. Like you'll see the fish swimming, and it says, "I surrender joyously to the ebbing and flowing of life," instead of swimming against the stream, to go with the flow, to be in that flow.
With my water buffalo. So
thank you, Kendra, so much.
Thank you, Kendra.
So much.
It's been awesome having you here.
So good.
So Kendra, tell everyone how they can reach you for Reiki, reading, nutrition.
So I actually do have a website, which obviously we talked about earlier, that I really don't. I've been so busy with some other things, but I will go and tweak it a little bit now because there's some updates I need to do. Not much though. It's just KendraLaguna.com.
Beautiful.
Really easy. It's super easy to navigate. There's some buttons and you just push them.
Cool.
And I usually respond within like 24 hours. And then, like I said, I'm super bad with boundaries, so people usually end up with my phone number, and I talk to them after. And
I used to do that. I'm getting much better. I even
I suck
the other day, I need to hire an assistant, because where my boundary is still, Sunny would say, wishy-washy, is in my own messenger, because people think that they can just message me all day, night and day, 2 a.m, and that I'm gonna respond. So I've been turning it off so that you can't see if I'm online scrolling.
Yeah. On Facebook, people message me, and I do. Like, I have 2 kids. I have a husband. I have a mom that, is in need of me sometimes, and mother-in-law. And I do work a part-time, like I work about 30 hours a week. So like, I do try to get back to people as quickly as I can. It just doesn't always work. So, I do the best I can with what I've got at this point. And until I can shift into another way of running things and being, then this is what I do. But I will tell you, like I said before, like my passion 100% is readings. I would do, if I could have the energy to do 5-10 a day, I probably would.
Well, there you go, our friends that are online. If you want to contact Kendra for online, she can do distant Reiki. She can do the readings over the phone or I don't know if you use Zoom or
Well, I
Messenger.
don't, because they cut me to 45 minutes because I don't pay them. I do Facebook
Messenger. Video messenger.
I have Skype. But yeah, Zoom cuts me at 45 minutes. And like I said, I suck at boundaries. So like, I don't do that because normally, and I will be completely transparent here, my readings usually go like an hour and a half.
So there you go, you guys. You're getting an amazing deal. And if you are wanting to connect with spirit, check out Kendra. There's so many amazing people in our community, you guys, and allow her to be of service. Thank you, Kendra, for joining us today.
This was so much fun. Yay!
Thank you so much, and we hope that you'll come and visit us again soon.
I will when I have a Friday off.
Yes, thank you, sister. God bless you. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
brother.
honey.
Well, that was awesome.
That was awesome. Oh my God. It's so nice having a guest.
It is. I really enjoy it. It adds an extra element to our conversation, and I love it. We go over quite a bit. We don't stay within our hour, but you know what? This is like a bonus, right?
Well, this was our first time, and it was like having coffee with Kendra and being in a virtual room together. And so, I'm sure people came and went as they needed to.
But they'll have an awesome replay to watch because there was a lot of good little nuggets of teaching and personal, so I think I loved it. I loved every moment of spending the time with you guys and who's watching.
So nice. And so, yes, the next guest is going to be Ellen. Ellen, we will reach out to you. And I'm so excited. I'm like, thank you. More of this, please. But Debbie and I are going to do a special edition. What day is March the 3rd, Deb?
Let's see.
Let me
look at the calendar.
Oh, it's Wednesday.
Okay.
Wednesday. Is that okay, Debbie? Can we do 3 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll do a special 3 p.m. Shine Sisters in memory of Vicki Mitchell. It is her 4 years. I can hardly believe that she's been gone in physical 4 years. And so, that'll be nice. We can do, you guys will have to tune in because we'll have a memorial, but it will be fun because Vicki is known as, I'm going to save all that. You'll have to tune in.
Yeah, so that'll be next Wednesday, March 3rd at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. So you'll have to look at the time converter to see when that is for you in your time zone. But
333. 333. And I saw 333. That's interesting. And she died at 444.
Oh my gosh.
That is interesting, Deb. Anyways, I just, this is how it works when we're together, that we get this validation that we're on the right path.
Yeah, I love it.
And to share her with the world.
Well, I just want to remind everyone, we love doing this free show with you guys and to come and spend some time with you guys once a week. And we would also love to spend one-on-one time with you through a reading. And we talked a little bit about it in each of our lives that we show up. So just a quick little reminder, and you can check us out. You can either reach me or Giuliana. I'm at DebbieLadinsky.com and JulianaMello.com. Yeah. So whichever one, you can reach out to either one of us. We will both respond to you. We are just open to receive and to give you guys an amazing reading, and would be honored to have that opportunity with you.
So we hope that you will consider us, and you'll see how we know so many other people in the world too, that we have no problem sharing knowledge and gifts of others with you. And so we hope that you will consider your next reading with us, and we hope that you will show up Wednesday at 3 p.m. for a special edition of the Shine Sisters for a memorial for Vicki Mitchell. And I'm sure there'll be some surprises, because there always is when Vicki comes in.
Yeah. I'm excited. She has quite the energy.
Fun.
Quite the energy. So it's going to be a blast. So I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good ending this today. And we thank everybody for showing up and being here with us. And just know that we love you and we care about you. And we're always thinking of you and sending you guys prayers. And feel free to reach out to us anytime that you need. Obviously, we do have boundaries. Y'all know that I got some pretty strong boundaries. And Giuliana,
getting better.
Message me at her boundaries. Yeah.
No, 2 a.m.
So we only have one until we get busier and busier. We are at 1 p.m. Mountain Time is when our readings are available on Fridays. Yeah. So you get a double dose of us on that Friday when you hire us. So it's pretty fun. Yeah. So we look forward to seeing you guys and connecting with you. And you guys go have a wonderful weekend and just know that we love you and appreciate you. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.